Hello friends, now we will see the next revision. We will do a revision of our next unit, which is nothing but the orthographics. Okay? So for that we will go through it. These are nothing but the instruments required, which we have discussed during our lecture sessions. So these are nothing but the instruments which you should have. Okay, this is an article where we have seen that what is an importance of engineering drawing. Okay, now let us see what is an engineering drawing. Engineering drawing is nothing but an language of an engineer, or engineering graphics is nothing but an language of an engineer. Previously this subject was called as an engineering drawing, but now it is called as engineering graphics. Okay, and for what we are communicating from this particular language is nothing but the engineering parts, assemblies, different civil engineering structures, which are nothing but the buildings and bridges. So with this particular language we are about to communicate all these parts, isn't it? Now let us understand what is the principle of projection. Okay, now this is what is an torch, which is nothing but the observer. Okay, from this particular torch different rays are going to be raised. So these are nothing but the projection lines or projectors. Okay, then we have one object, one man, okay, which is nothing but our object. Then we have one plane, okay, which is nothing but the wall, but for our sake this is nothing but the plane of projection. Okay, once we start this particular torch, it will have an light rays, okay, and because of this object we will get shadow of this object on this particular wall, isn't it? And then this particular shadow, which is nothing but the projection, and we are interested in this particular projection only. Okay, so whatever we are going to draw, we will draw these projections. Okay, now there are basically two types of projection or two types of views. One is axonometric view and one is perspective view. Now as you can see the difference over here, this is what is the perspective view, this is what is the axonometric view. In the perspective view it is starting from one point, okay, and in axonometric view it is not starting from one point. Okay, here the size of this particular object is getting reduced and it is starting with an point. Okay, but nothing can be seen over here. Okay, now in the perspective view projection, this is an observer, this is an plane of projection, this is an shadow, and this is an object. Okay, if we change the particular position of this projection plane, if it is over here, okay, then what you can see, the shadow will be reduced. If this plane of projection is nearer to the object, then shadow will be enlarged. So whatever projections we are going to get are not constant one. Okay, these are relative to the distance of an object, plane of projection, and the observer's distance. Okay, this is the reason why we are not using perspective projection or perspective view in our normal engineering drawing. Okay, now next is parallel projection, or it is also known as axonometric view. Okay, now here same example we are going to extend: observer, plane of projection, and the object. Okay, these are the lines. If we are about to shift this particular plane of projection's distance, even though we are changing the distance of this plane of projection, there will not be any change in the dimensions of this particular projection. So shadow will remain as it is, its dimensions are not going to be changed. This is what is the outcome of an parallel projection. or an axonometric view. And because of this only, this is used or this is being followed in our engineering. Okay. Now, as we have seen, this engineering graphics is a language of engineers. So for every language, we must have different letters or different alphabets. Okay. So these are our alphabets. Okay. What are these types of lines? So very first is continuous thick line, which you can see the darkness of this particular line, which is heavy one, isn't it? Then continuous thin line. So this is a light line, continuous thin line. Then hidden line. As you can see, there is an missed portion in between, isn't it? So this is what is the hidden line. Then center line. So this is how we can talk a center line, which is nothing but the light line. Then dimension lines. Okay? So this is the dimension line, cutting plane. Then break lines are there. Okay. So this is very first is short break line, and this is nothing but the long break line. This long break line you might have used while plotting any sort of graph. Okay. So you are aware of this particular line. Now, very important thing, orthographic system of orthographic projections. Now, as you can see, we have two planes. Okay, we have this HP, which is nothing but the horizontal plane. We have this VP, which is nothing but the vertical plane. And intersection of both these plane is nothing but one line, which is the XY line. Done. Now, because of its intersection, because of the intersection of horizontal plane and the vertical plane, there are four quadrants which are being formed. Okay. So this is the quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, quadrant number 4. Okay. Now, if we need to define a position of an point, say for example, this cursor is an point. Okay. Or if we suppose mark one point over here, this is nothing but one point, isn't it? So if we need to define its position, how we will define it? A point, say for example, a point P is above the HP and in front of VP. So point P is X mm above HP and Y mm in front of VP. Okay. Similarly, if that particular point is over here, then how we can define it? A point P is behind the VP and above the HP. Similarly, if point is over here, point is below the HP and behind VP. Then point, if it is in the fourth quadrant, point P is below the HP and in front of VP. So this is how we can define the position of an individual point. Okay. Now, in addition to our basic planes, horizontal plane and vertical plane, we have another plane which is nothing but the profile plane, and same plane is also being called as auxiliary plane or an imaginary plane. Okay. Now we have basically 6 principal view. One is the front view, top view, rear view, left hand side view, right hand side view, and bottom view. Okay. So these views needs to be drawn while drawing the orthographic projections. I hope you have understood this particular video. Thank you so much.